Hello everyone, Devin here, otherwise known as Loaded Buggy, back with another Call of Duty commentary, this time some good old Black Ops 1. And it's a little strange to finally be doing these types of videos after all this time, sitting down, watching my own Call of Duty gameplay back and recording a commentary on it, just like I had imagined I would be doing many years ago. So it's a little strange and frankly extremely nostalgic, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, was nostalgia. And man, nostalgia is like one of my favorite feelings in the entire world. I constantly am living in a state of nostalgia in terms of my entertainment, always going back and watching old movies that I used to love, or old TV shows, or rewatching old YouTube videos that I used to watch whenever I was younger. Just creators and videos in particular that I used to just love and watch on repeat, and that ranges from XCal live commentaries to Hutch commentaries from the way back in the COD 4 days, when that's when I first discovered YouTube, and it really took over my life in terms of entertainment. And of course, rewatching some CNanner's commentary. I just rewatched a couple of his today actually, and it got me in a mood for commentary just because they're so classic, so iconic, and one in particular, the Call of Duty 4 plus women equals what? And it's just so weird to go back and watch those videos now after all this time, just seeing how the entertainment space has changed and how it's evolved, and in some ways very positive ways, and others not so much. But I, for one, really still enjoy just kind of the basic and simplistic manner of the old YouTube space. And it's just, I don't know. I always liked the YouTube space back then, and I always liked the videos I used to watch. They were, in my eyes, pretty low effort, but high on personality, and a lot of these creators had a ton of charisma, and that made watching their videos so much more fun. And obviously there were some that were just really funny or really good at the game as well, so that made some of their videos attractive too. I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird going back after all this time and rewatching them with a different lens, because whenever I was watching those videos way back in the day, I was like, I don't know, anywhere from 13 to 16 years old and onward. I've just been on the YouTube space for so long that I've seen how content has changed these many years, and I don't know. I just really miss these old days, the simplistic manner of YouTube, and I love feeling nostalgic about YouTube channels. And it's not even just restricted to Call of Duty commentaries. I rewatch other channels that are completely different types of content, like the Creatures. I used to love the Creature Hub and Uberhaxer Nova, SSOH PKC, Sly Fox Hound, a ton of other creators that were a part of that channel. I used to watch their content all the time, and I still go back and rewatch them. I still rewatch Cow Chop. I mean, that's a little bit more modern, but I like going back and rewatching a lot of different creators' content from over the years, just to relive those moments, even for a second, those feelings of bliss. And whenever I was younger, I didn't have those problems of an adult, so whenever I rewatch those videos, I just kind of connect to my past self at a more simplistic time when I didn't have a lot of stress. I didn't have a lot of things to worry about. I was just working a part-time job, going to school, come home, play Call of Duty, watch some YouTube videos, and chill, and that was the life. And I look back on those days very fondly, but at the same time, I don't want them back, because I've got a great life now. I have a loving wife and two beautiful baby boys that I wouldn't trade for the world, but that doesn't stop me from going back and rewatching these old content, or these old videos and stuff, just to relive for a moment those simplistic days of my life that I very much so hold fondly. And I don't know. It's just weird getting older, isn't it? I think it's just so strange getting older, and seeing the things that you loved in the present, at least in the present at that time, whenever you were younger, what seemed like would be your forever. And man, did I think Call of Duty commentaries would be around forever. And boy, did I think Machinima and Machinima Respawn was just going to be a staple of the YouTube scene. It was never going to dissipate, and yet here we are. But I'm just thankful that YouTube is the way it is, and it's been able to hold these classic videos for 15 years now. I mean, I go back and watch some of these videos that were posted like 13 to 15 years ago, and man, that's just crazy. I'm approaching 30. In just a couple of years, I'll be 30. And I was watching these videos when I was like 13 or 14 years old. It's just absolutely bonkers to think that they're that old and that they've just stayed on this space immortalized forever. And it's awesome, too, because I get to go back and rewatch these videos and remember what time was like back in 2010 or 2011. And this same logic applies to video games, too. I love going back and replaying old video games that I haven't played in a long time, like the Assassin's Creeds and obviously Call of Duty. I mean, these classic Call of Duties, the era from COD 4 all the way up to, I would even say Ghosts. I mean, that era of Call of Duty was just peak. I mean, it did not get better than that. I lived for Call of Duty back then, and man, I just never want to leave those times, and I hope these games never die. So I just often go back and replay them, and it just puts me back in that nostalgic space, and I repeat the cycle over and over again. Where, I get the itch to play a little classic COD. I hop on, and I'm like, oh, I could go for a YouTube commentary right about now. So I pop on a Hutch commentary, or a Cnanners commentary, or Woody's Gamertag commentary, and it just takes me back to 2011, and it was a beautiful time. But yeah, that's just what I was thinking about today. I thought it might be fun to share with you guys where I've been at, and life's good, man. But life was good back then too. I mean, it's hard times we're living in. As a American citizen with this inflation, that could be challenging for us adults that have to pay bills. But it's, if you put on the right lenses, you can look at your life and feel pretty good about it. So that's just where I'm at. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thanks for watching this video. Be on the lookout for lots more Call of Duty commentaries from me in the future. I've got plenty of topics up my sleeve, and there's no shortage of gameplays in my bank too. So thanks for watching. Hello everyone, Loaded Buggy here, and I am back with another Modern Warfare 2 Call of Duty commentary using the Mini Uzi with the suppressor. And this is actually my first game on of the night. Hopped on to try to get some gameplays recorded, hopefully get something good. And this was my first game on. It ends up being a pretty exciting, action-packed match. And I end up with a pretty good score. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So kick your feet up, sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and hopefully enjoy the commentary too. Today's topic was one that popped into my brain, and I chuckle because it's a little bit humorous. It's something that I've had to deal with myself in many ways, and also I've been able to share that. Oops, sorry if I bumped my microphone there. I was able to share this kind of experience with other people too, and that's the topic of lowering your expectations. And I think this is just something that I think overall it just makes your life more enjoyable. I think it opens up opportunity for you, and I'm not even talking on like the grandest of scale. I'm talking for just even small things. When you lower your expectations, you can be pleasantly surprised far more often. And I started putting this into practice in the last few years, especially when it came to entertainment. I got so sick and tired of being disappointed by movies or shows or games that you know what, I just told myself, you know what, I'm just so sick of this. I'm going to go into this thinking that it's going to be the worst thing in the world, or that it's just going to be an okay time, and hopefully I'll come out pleasantly surprised. And often case that worked out just fine for me. I was able to find a way to enjoy a very average movie and have a good time while watching it, or play an average game, and like I said, have a good time while I'm playing it. And I think that's something that can go a lot deeper than just surface level things like entertainment. I think it can also be applicable to things like relationships. Often, especially women, I would say, and this is not a dig at any particular women, but I think it's just how society has framed relationships and how you should perceive your future boyfriend, your future girlfriend, your future husband, and that's to lower your expectations, because not all of them are Prince Charming, and sadly Disney did not do their part in making things realistic, but instead they kind of set some women up for failure who have such a high expectation of men, and I think it's kind of ruined some men's opportunity to be with some really great girls. And I don't even think I should clarify, first of all, because I don't want that to be taken out of context. And whenever I say you should lower your expectations with men, I don't think you should lower it beyond the minimum expectation of men. Men should be courteous. They should be thinking of you first. They should be doing all those things. But at the same time, I feel like society has also convinced people, I'll say, that you shouldn't have to put forth as much effort, and I think that's kind of the Prince Charming effect. So I think it's very important for people who are looking for relationships to widen your horizons, give people a chance, or in the surface level things like entertainment, movies, books, whatever. If you lower your expectations and give those things a chance, you have a better shot of enjoying whatever that thing is, or have a better shot at making a personal connection with someone that you think you might not have made before, or you kind of put your walls up, or you had a previous expectation or notion of what that person may be like, sound like, look like, act like, what their humor might be like, etc. So I thought I often give that advice to people who are asking me about relationships. I've had a relatively successful one, being with my wife for 8 years now, and it's worked out really well for us. And I think part of that is lowering our expectation for each other, even in day-to-day life. If I don't expect my wife to have our house in tip-top shape, head to toe, be sparkling clean every single day. What I do expect is for her to keep my children alive, to take care of herself too. And I'm talking about feeding her, feeding herself, and teaching our child or our children, feeding them, making them breakfast, changing diapers. Like, those are the minimum expectations, and that's really all I expect in a day. And what she expects of me is to work our job so that I can provide for them, and do what I'm supposed to do. And then whenever I get off work, I hop straight into dad mode and I start taking care of my kids. I start changing diapers too. That's the minimum expectation of being a parent. And whenever we don't hold each other to such a high standard, or such a high expectation, we end up enjoying the process a heck of a lot more. So I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on the matter, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary.
The Modern Warfare 2 lobby screen, in particular, and other Call of Duties have this effect on me too, but the Modern Warfare 2 one in particular has such an effect on me when it comes to, giving me a wave of nostalgia, and not for the game itself, but for the way that social gaming used to be. And I have a similar relationship with Halo 3 whenever I think back of the Social Slayer playlist, and people really utilize the Social Slayer playlist to be social with each other. And it's just something I've been thinking about a lot. And I used this Modern Warfare 2 gameplay in particular because, one, it was the last Modern Warfare 2 gameplay I had on my hard drive, and to be honest, it's not even very good. I ended up with a 2KD or something like that, but the gameplay was, okay at best. But I used Modern Warfare 2 in particular because I have such fond memories of the social aspect of what gaming used to be. And I feel like nowadays, a lot of the social aspect, just sitting in lobbies and whatnot, is kind of lost. I mean, I've even seen some videos on the new Modern Warfare 3, and the lobbies just seem dead to me. And maybe that's just my perspective from someone who actually played the newer games, and I'm just kind of seeing it from someone else's perspective. But they just seem dead to me in comparison to what this era of games were like socially. I feel like I could hop into any Call of Duty around 2012 and before, and then more than half of the lobby had microphones and were willing to talk trash, or just talk it up, or just be buddy, or just have a chit chat, whatever. Just have communication with other people just because you were playing the same game together. I mean, that's how I met a lot of my Xbox friends, was in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby or in a Halo Reach lobby, where, you know, I just started talking, or I was just obnoxiously singing a song way back when, and somebody else started singing it along with me, or we just started chatting it up in a search and destroy lobby or something whenever we were spectating after, you know, a death or something like that. And I feel like that social aspect of modern gaming is kind of gone, or I don't even know if it's necessarily gone. It's just not the same way that it used to be, the way that I remember it. Like I said, I feel like I could hop into any Call of Duty lobby and I would be able to talk to 4 or 5 different people, whereas now modern gaming, the lobbies don't seem to be as social, because I feel like everyone has moved on to things like Discord, and that's where they build their communities. So maybe my perspective isn't necessarily... Maybe I have kind of a boomer perspective, if you will, where the social aspect may even be better than what it used to be, but you just don't see it, you know, in the forefront like you used to back in the day, or at least that's how I kind of see it. I'll go to like the Master Chief Collection or something like that, and I always remember Halo being an inherently social game. But if I go into any of the Halos, it doesn't matter. It could be Halo Reach 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't really matter which one that I choose. The social aspect just kind of isn't there. I mean, often there would be complete radio silence, and I always have my headset plugged in. I'm always ready to chat with somebody. I say always, but like 90% of the time, I've got my headset plugged in, ready to chat with somebody if there's someone available to chat. But so often, at least, especially in the Halo games, which, again, they used to be a super social game franchise. I mean, 3 and Reach especially were hyper social. And now the Master Chief Collection, at least in my experience, has almost no social aspect to it whatsoever. And Call of Duty doesn't seem to be any different either. Definitely the modern lobbies for these old Call of Duties are pretty much dead. It's pretty rare to find somebody who actually wants to talk. The last time I had a real interaction with somebody was on Black Ops 2, and what ended up happening is I was using my KSG class. It's one of my go-to classes in the game, but when you can actually hit your shots, players don't really like the KSG because the range on it's pretty obnoxious, and obviously it's a one-shot kill. And I was playing in a free-for-all, and I was just playing away. I wasn't saying much of anything, and one of my opponents just started telling me how terrible I was. So, of course, I decided to shout some stuff back, and we were heckling each other back and forth, yelling at each other. And then the very next game, we were laughing it up, and you know, it's total stereotypical dude stuff where you get into a fight and then you say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then now we're best buds. And we were chatting it up, and we played probably another 10 to 15 matches together, just laughing it up, shooting the breeze, just talking a whole lot of nonsense. But that was the fun aspect of Call of Duty, and sometimes it didn't even result in a friend request. You know, sometimes it didn't result in that, but it was just a key aspect that I have such fond memories of, is the social aspect that just doesn't seem to be there anymore. It's pretty rare for me to get into a game that is really busy and really chatty. It doesn't really matter what the game is, like, period. It really doesn't matter what it is anymore. If it's something, I guess one of the only exceptions, and it's a game I haven't played because I don't have VR, but it seems like VR chat is like one of the only modern games that's really based around the social aspect of things. And to me, I just miss hopping into a Modern Warfare 2 lobby or a Black Ops lobby and just being able to heckle your opponents before the match, or if you're in a free-for-all, being able to heckle each other throughout the entire match, or sitting in a search and destroy match after you've died, just spectating your teammate and chatting with your other teammates and just having a good old time. It just seems like social gaming is much different now. And it kind of bums me out. I mean, I love Discord. I love the community aspect of Discord when you join those community servers. I think it's awesome to be able to connect with people so instantaneously that have a similar interest in you. But at the same time, I miss the randomness aspect of community. Like, now you have to seek for your community. You have to go out of your way to find it. You have to go on Reddit. You have to find a Discord community server, you know, those types of things. Whereas back in these days, you found your community by logging on and playing the game and just chatting. And then the same thing happened with like something like RuneScape. I used to play RuneScape a ton. You hop into RuneScape, you teleport home to Lumbridge, and boom, everyone's chatting it up. Or at the Grand Exchange, everyone's chatting it up. It just kind of seems like even modern RuneScape has lost that little bit of social touch that I remember being there, and it kind of bums me out. So I'm just thinking about this earlier today, and I figured I'd make a commentary about it and see what you guys thought. So,
Hello everyone, Load of Buggy here, back with another Black Ops 1 commentary, and today we're using the PM63 on the map Radiation. Radiation is like one of my favorite maps in the entire game, and I feel like it doesn't come up in the queues much these days of the rotation. I feel like it doesn't come up very often, but whenever it does, I automatically vote for it. It's one of my favorite maps to play, and we're using the PM63. Like, this gun is like a little mini ACR. No one uses this gun, and I'm not quite sure why. I say I'm not quite sure, but I know why. It's because the MP5K and the AK-74U exist, or even the MPL or the Spectre. There's plenty of better options than the PM63 in this game. But like came up in this topic of the PM63 came up in my most recent Black Ops 1 live stream, where someone made the bold claim, and I apologize because I can't remember who specifically said it, but they made the bold claim that the PM63 was actually the best submachine gun in the game. And although I think that might be a little bit of a hot take, I do think the gun is a heck of a lot better than people get it credit for. But anyway, that's not the point of the point of this video. The topic that we're going to be talking about today is bumper stickers, and I know that seems like a silly topic on the surface. But I went to the grocery store. My wife wasn't feeling all that well, so I went and got her a Gatorade, got myself a tea, got my kids a couple of juices, and as I was leaving the grocery store, I saw a bumper sticker that said Trump 2024, and it just kind of got me thinking about the assumptions that people make based off of a bumper sticker. Often, I'll look at a car and I'll see a Harris 2024 sticker or a Trump 2024 sticker, and I start to make assumptions about their lives as a whole. And that's obviously my bad to make those assumptions, but I think a lot of us do that, where we'll read one person's Facebook post, or they'll post a news article, or they'll be wearing a Trump 2024 hat or a Harris 2024 hat, or whatever it is. We look at this person and we make an assumption based off of one little thing, and it got me thinking of how unfair that is to that person, and how I would personally not like that whatsoever if someone was making an assumption about me based off of one thing that I had said that could possibly be taken completely out of context. And that, I think that happens a lot in this day and age, where since social media has such a presence, people will take what they read off of one person's Facebook post, or Twitter post, or they'll take the Trump 2024 hat or the Kamala Harris 2024 hat, and they'll start to make assumptions about what their views are as a whole. And I don't think that's necessarily fair to do to that person. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a story that I feel like is pretty applicable regarding this topic. And those of you, I would imagine my entire audience, has no idea that I am married to a black woman. So obviously I get a little bit defensive whenever we're talking about black people in general and about making assumptions about black people in general. But I do. And whenever the second go-around of Black Lives Matter was happening, and we're talking like the George Floyd days, and full disclosure, I'm not a big fan of the Black Lives Matter organization as a whole. I don't think they're out for the best interest of the people. But the movement itself, I think, is extremely important, and I think it goes beyond just black people, but it's just discrimination as a whole. But anyways, to kind of backtrack a bit, the second time the Black Lives Matter movement came out, my I won't give specifics, but there was this person whom I was very close with, who was starting to post a lot of articles that seemed pretty anti-black on the surface level. And I think it was a very foolish thing for them to do. But after having a conversation with them, a few conversations, I started to get a little bit of insight as to where they were actually coming from. And the articles that they were posting were kind of clickbaity and a bit misleading. But again, after having those conversations with them, I started to learn a little bit about them. And I think they learned a valuable lesson as well, to be very careful with what they post, because not everyone's going to look at that Facebook post or that news article and think, I don't think this person agrees with everything that was in this news article. No, I think it's quite the opposite. If you post a news article, you are basically claiming or proclaiming your support of everything that was said in that news article, and you have a responsibility to be very clear whenever you disagree with something. And that was a lesson for them, and making assumptions about what they believed as a whole regarding black people was my bad. But once we had those conversations and started to really understand where person A was coming from, we covered a lot of ground, and we were able to move forward in our relationship in a way that I have never experienced before. And I'm not talking about my wife, of course, but I'm talking about a friend that I was very close with, and I'm even more close now after having those conversations, because it became kind of a wall in between us. It became a wall in between us, and it really bothered my wife, and it bothered the heck out of me too. But after having conversations and actually talking with this person, we learned a lot about the intention of from where they were coming from and how that hurt me and my wife at the time. And we really were able to move past it, and they learned a valuable lesson, and I learned a valuable lesson, to not look at bumper stickers and make an assumption about a person, but to take the time to stop and actually ask them these important questions and get the full explanation as to where they're coming from. I think headline reading and bumper sticker reading is one of the most dangerous things in this day and age. It's really poison to communication, and I think it's really, really important that we stop and we start asking each other questions again. We start having communications, because whenever we stop having conversations with each other, that's when discourse happens. That's when fights happen. That's when wars happen, because we're not communicating with each other. We're not hearing our perspective. We're making assumptions about each other, and making assumptions, I'm sure you know the phrase, it makes a blank out of you. And I think that is a super, super true statement. Whenever you make assumptions, you are proclaiming your perspective and your thoughts about what that person believes, and you're pushing that on that other person without giving them an opportunity to clarify. And I think that's a really, really important thing for us to do, is just to stop, ask the questions, and listen to the person to really understand what their perspective, their true perspective, actually is, so that you can move forward or halt that relationship with that person. So this was just something that kind of came up today that I thought would be really valuable to share, and hopefully you guys got some value out of it. I don't know what it is about these Call of Duty commentaries lately, but they have been just so incredibly fun for me to make, and maybe it's just therapeutic and so nostalgic for me to finally be behind the microphone making these Call of Duty commentaries like I wanted to do all those years ago. But whatever the reason, I don't really care, because I am just having way too much fun revisiting these games throughout the week, capturing footage, writing down topics of whatever I could possibly think of that might make for a good video, and then just scheming. What do I want to do next? What loadout could I use next that would be fun for the audience to watch here? And it's just been such a fun process for me. But the one thing that I would say that kind of concerns me whenever I'm making these videos and just getting so overly excited about making content is the potential burnout that can come with it. I mean, I've heard so many creators talk about burnout when it comes to content creation, and Modern Warfare 2, you simply never change. I mean, I don't want to interrupt myself here, but the noob tubes just never end. As long as I play this game, I will be getting noob tube. That's a guarantee. Anyways, content creators always talk about burnout being something that a lot of them deal with, and I think that can really happen to those especially that are just pumping out an absurd amount of content. But I've been trying to pace myself to and get into a rhythm that is not too overwhelming, where I constantly am just like, I feel like I'm making enough videos, but at the same time, could I make one more? Could I make two more? Could I just do daily uploads for a week? But then, I just stop myself, and I'm like, no. Let's not burn ourselves out here. Let's not do too much and overextend and then just have an awful time and then not want to make videos ever again. I don't want that to happen. And so I'm trying to pace myself. So that was just kind of one of the things that's been on my mind lately, is burnout. And I think that's like something that is a pretty frequent topic amongst gamers, because we tend to let's say, overindulge a fair bit when it comes to gaming or just entertainment in general. I know in the day and age of Netflix binging, that tends to be commonplace for people just to overdo it a smidge, and I'm no exception. So I want to talk about how I kind of handle burnout and also quad. Shout out Operator Perry. This is just too freaking fun, man. I'm having way too much fun making these videos. What was I saying, dude? I want to talk about how this is so off the rails. I want to talk about how I handle burnout and how I kind of recover from that overextension and doing a little bit too much. So first of all, I'll say I am a total binger. Like I was saying, in this day and age of Netflix binging, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure plenty of you are bingers too. But whenever I've found myself or have found myself doing a little bit too much, and I start to get to the point where I'm burnt out, or I'm already beyond the point of no return, and I'm so far burnt out that I just I don't want to play X game for months, or I don't want to watch that show for ages, or I'm constantly in a state of overindulgence when it comes to my entertainment. And what I find that is just the easiest solution for me is simply just taking a break from that thing. I mean, when it comes to gaming, whenever I get into like the ultra binge, like I'll use RuneScape as an example. Old school RuneScape is like one of my most revisited games that I just whenever it's time for, my brain is telling me it's time to load up old school RuneScape again, I just I overdo it. I've got old school RuneScape mobile on my phone, and I'm just grinding all day long, every single day for like 3-4 weeks and straight. And then it just becomes just one day I'm like, I don't want to log in today, and I know that's the beginning of the end. So what do? I don't force myself to push through. I take a break from that thing. And I know sometimes in life you just can't take a break from things, because often many of us get burnt out from our daily jobs or whatever it is, and you can't just walk away from that. But if your job allows it, maybe it's time for vacation. If you have some PTO save up, maybe take a long weekend. Help yourself recover. Let your brain relax for a bit. Do a whole lot of nothing. Just do something that will relieve stress for you and not put strain on your mentals. I mean, I often do that whenever I have a long weekend coming up, and I'll just tell myself, you know what? Yeah, I could use an extra day or two, so I'll take that long holiday weekend, put a PTO request in a few weeks in advance, and take a 4-day weekend or a 5-day weekend, and that's a mini vacation in the middle of the year. So if you're able to do that, I definitely recommend doing that, because that just helps. But even if you can't, if you just need a Saturday to do nothing, or you just need your day off to do nothing, coordinate that with your loved ones and say, hey, I am just so overly exhausted mentally, and I could really just use some time to recover. Is that possible? And hopefully that person will be able to allow you to do that, because I know when my wife allows me to take one of those mental health days, it just does a number for me. It really puts me in a space where I'm like, I feel rejuvenated, I feel recovered, and I am ready to get back on the grind, get back to doing what I need to do, and often that helps a lot. So I just want to, I hope that will be some of encouragement to you, because I know many of us in this day and age deal with burnout. So if you're in that place where you are dealing with burnout, maybe it's just time to take a break. Take a break from that thing, whatever it is that's causing you problems. Just step away for a bit, even if it's a short time, whatever time you can get. Take a step away, and maybe you'll find yourself in a better place. Isn't it even a little bit strange to you guys that you can't see my face or my body right now? I mean, you have no idea what I could possibly be wearing. I could be dressed as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, or maybe even dressed as the Pope. Perhaps I'm wearing a kimono and nothing else. Or maybe I'm completely naked. Now, just to ease your mind, I would never, ever tell you what I'm wearing behind this microphone, because that would ruin the magic. And I want your mind wandering. I want you to imagine what you want me to be wearing, because I think that improves the experience for everyone, doesn't it? Hey, Slaughter Buggy, otherwise known as Devin, back with another commentary. This time got some World at War action. And what I wanted to talk to you about is it's not about being naked. It's not about wearing kimonos. And just for the record, I am fully clothed, so your mind can be at ease. But I won't tell you if I'm dressed as the Pope or not, because I'll keep that between me, myself, and my wife. Don't judge us. Anyway, I'm making this video because I've got another topic I want to talk about. And today I want to talk about going against the grain. And I've had to do that plenty of times in my life. I think there's been so many expectations that have been set by society, and so many things that society tells us that we should be doing. And I think sometimes it is worth us going against the grain. Sometimes it's worth questioning things. And many of the times, like for instance, the American dream, I'll use that as an example. We're supposed to get a job, get married, have a family, buy a house, and yada, yada, yada. But not everyone's cut out for that. We're not all designed that way. We're not all designed to want to have children or even buy a house. Some of us want to be nomads, want to travel, want to explore. And I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Everyone is different, and I think that's just the beautiful thing about life. And going against the grain, I think, is a valuable thing. I'll tell you a story, actually. When I was in school, I went through elementary school. I kind of had a back and forth relationship with schooling and public schooling. Whenever I was young, I went to public preschool, and then I was homeschooled for kindergarten and first grade. Then I went back to public school for second and third grade. Then I went back to homeschooling for fourth grade, and then back to public school once more for fifth grade. Then I moved all the way across country, and I went back to homeschooling from grades 6 through 9. And I had a very, I'll say, toxic relationship with schooling whenever I was homeschooling, especially after we moved cross country, my family and I. Things got a little bit, well, it was a big move, a little depressing, a little sad. And the schooling difference, the curriculum, Arizona versus the state that I lived in on the East Coast. I mean, Arizona is known for having one of the worst school systems in the country. So I was not being challenged by any means, and nor did I even care about schooling in the first place. So my mother noticed this and noticed that my grades were kind of slacking because I simply was not doing it, and I simply was not being challenged. And we kind of, over some long conversations between her and my father, she came to the conclusion that perhaps the traditional route of schooling was not for me. And it turned out she was right. I dropped out of high school, and I immediately started working on getting my GED, or they call it a HSE now, a high school equivalency diploma. And it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's equivalent to a high school diploma, but it's just a different route to go about it. So I went to school, and I actually enrolled in a college that had an HSE or GED class. And the average length of time that it takes people to usually start that class and graduate is about 18 months to 2 years, I think is what they said at the time. And I was able to get in the schooling, enroll in the school, and be done within about 10 months of work. So I was able to graduate early, technically. I mean, it took a little bit for me to actually get to enroll in this course, but once I did, it was about 8 to 10 months where I was starting and I was finished. And it worked out great for me. Everything worked out just fine. I don't have any issues with my intellectual integrity, or I don't feel like I'm any dumber than people who went to public school. And in fact, in some cases, I think I might have a little bit of an edge. And I just think there's some value to going against the grain. So that's just a personal story I thought would be interesting to share to you guys, and I hope you got some value out of it. Allow yourself to make your own way, make your own path, and sometimes going against the grain is a good thing. Hello everyone, Loaded Buggy here, back with another gameplay Call of Duty commentary for you. Got some Advanced Warfare, and in unusual fashion, I am actually not alone. I have a close buddy, close confidant with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. My name's Kraken7 Down. I'm the close buddy, close confidant.
All right, well, Kraken7 Down, I have brought you on for a real throwback, a real common place in the Call of Duty commentary scene way back when, and that is for a dual commentary. And we have a very specific and applicable topic that I would like to chat with you about and get your perspective. So, shall we dive right in?
Let's dive head first.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to give you control first, but the topic that we are going to chat about is relinquishing control, and how we in our personal lives, how we have I guess, and from our perspective, being Christians, we have allowed God to take control of our life and our circumstances. So we'd like to kind of just share how that's applied to our lives and how it may apply to yours, whether you are a Christian or not. So go ahead, Kraken, proceed.
First of all, it's been a hot minute since I've seen Advanced Warfare, and this game looks amazing.
Let me tell you something.
So,
No one plays this freaking game. There is like 60 people at the time that I tried recording this. This was like one of the only 2 lobbies that I could get into. But I actually like this game. I have a good time with it. Not many people are nostalgic about it like I am, but I enjoy it. And it still looks pretty good.
it actually looks phenomenal. But I won't distract us too much further. We're talking about relinquishing control, right? And you had brought this up to me earlier, and I thought long and hard about it. And I'm like, what can I talk about that's applicable, that's helpful in regards to this subject? So there's a few different avenues that I wanted to go down. And as to not try to dominate the convo and not eat up 10 minutes, the whole 10 minutes. Really, I will say on a personal note, I have gone through a lot of garbo the last 6 months or so. Lots of stuff that I won't go into. That being said, I had to learn how to lose control, but in the appropriate way, to learn that I am not in control of anything. When we really think about it, we have no control over the majority of everything. We don't have control over people. We don't have control over really the people who have control over us, that are much higher and bigger seats and get paid a lot more. When we learn that we don't have much control except for the things that we can control in our lives, which are our actions, how we invest in ourselves, not on a selfish level, but like, how are we investing in our mental health? How are we investing in our physical health? How are we investing in learning how to be better humans to the humans around us? And then also at the end of the day, the biggest thing that I think I learned over the last 6 months is learning to let go of control and remind myself that God is in control, that He is the one that has us in the palm of His hand. And, I won't get too preachy or anything like that, but, a specific Bible verse that I always go back to is, if God takes care of the birds and the animals, how much more is He going to take care of humans? How much more is He going to take care of us, the ones that He says He's made in His own image? And I went through job loss, I went through heartache, I went through death and all sorts of stuff over, the last couple of years. And, most of it just was unfair. But when I realized I'm not in control of any of this, but at the end of the day, what I can control is how I react. And I'm a father of 3, and I'm a husband. And as the husband and the father of the house, like, I had to learn, how can I be an example to the rest of my family? And I wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that I had to learn was, I got to do this also because I'm a part of a family, and I need to learn how to show that I can put my faith in who is in control. And then on top of that, how can I show them that I'm trying to control what I can in my life to be the best that I can for them and the people around me? So that's just my initial thoughts on the subject. I will pass the baton back to you.
No, I think those are all perfect points, and whether you're like I said, whether you're a Christian or not, it doesn't matter. These same kind of principles still apply to you. And I personally am kind of going through a process of having to relinquish control, and I've mentioned it in a previous commentary that I did on Modern Warfare 2. I can't remember what the video title was now. I've already forgotten, but that's relevant. I'm talking about how currently my circumstance is that I'm being essentially forced to move out of the state that I'm living in and being forced to move back to my hometown. And I am having to learn, and one thing that I have struggled to learn over the last few years, and it's kind of being forced upon me now, is relinquishing that control. And what I've tried to do over the past 2 or 3 years is always figure out a solution to have control over my life. And what's kind of happened is exactly what you said. The higher powers, quote unquote, in this case the government, and the result being inflation, has made it unaffordable for me to stay here, and I don't have control necessarily of my circumstances in its entirety. I mean, I have very little. And I think it goes far beyond that. It goes, to how you speak to other people. Like you said, it goes to your health. You really have to be able to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to be able to control everything yourself. You can make as many decisions as you want to, quote unquote, but it does not mean that it's going to actually apply to your circumstance, because at the end of the day, the universe or God or however you see it they're going to do as they please. God's going to do as he pleases, and it's going to end up working out for your good if you let it. And that's just kind of my opinion on it. So
one thing I want to harper on, or I don't know if that's the right word, but one thing I want to touch on is physical health. You know, lots of people struggle with the physical health side of things, but one thing I've realized is that it has such a deep connection to our mental health. And I was getting up there in my weight. Now, I'm not someone who likes to make fun of other people for their for their physical weight and everything, because I'm not one. I was not one to talk, but I was getting up there, and my wife was like, "Dang, honey, you got to do something." And so I started. You know, one of my struggles was I always would try to do something, and I could never get it to click. And then I would, just fall back into my old stuff. But I finally found what worked. I started doing Weight Watchers, and then I switched to a different type of diet or whatever. And I got to tell you, the mental boost that you get when that is something that you can control, to an extent. Like, you can control little things, even if you're not going on like a full blown. I'm not telling trying to preach people to go on a diet or anything. I'm just saying how it affected me. Like, the little things that I could do, try to make better, healthier choices here. Those are things that I could control. And then when I got consistent with the things that I could control, man, it gave me such a mental boost. It helped me become a nicer person because I was having those little wins, because life is full of losses. And man, oh man, do we lose constantly. And that's at least what it feels like. But I got to say, when I started gaining momentum with that aspect of my life, that thing that I could control, and I understand people have different health issues and stuff like that. So again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody for that type of a thing. But when I started gaining those little wins and getting consistent, and then I started seeing results, man, that just mentally, I think, is the biggest issue for so many people. But whenever I was able to start getting those little wins and like seeing, man, I can be consistent, I can do better. And it's been 3 or 4 months of me being on a pretty strict diet and not really giving in and not like going back to what I used to. And I just got to tell you, it is such a boost in the morale. And I think that's something that we all need right now, is a good boost in the morale.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is you control what you can. You don't try to control
That's exactly
everything,
what I
but
mean,
you control what you can, and you let go of the things that you cannot. You'll never be able to control everything. And on the I'll just say one note on the health part of things, is that not only is it a great benefit to yourself to be conscious of your diet and what you're intaking and stuff like that, but as someone like myself and like yourself who are fathers, our choices diet-wise has an impact on what our future looks like. And if we're eating terrible and putting ourselves at great risk, whether we're overweight or not, if we're putting ourselves at great risk, that is the potential that we may not be here, and then we'll leave our wives and our children behind without a father, without someone who's supposed to be there to lead them. And it's really important to be in control of what you can. It's important to take care of yourself, not just physically, but mentally. And sometimes that means letting go of the things that you cannot control. It is a stress reliever too, because whenever you finally come to terms with the fact that you're not going to be able to control everything, and you just worry about what you can control, you no longer have that layer of stress on you, and that in itself is a morale booster, which is great.
Yeah, that was such an applicable thing for me personally. It was such an applicable thing for me right now, in terms of that was something that I could control. I wasn't like so far gone to where it was like almost an impossible task or anything like that, but it affects your kids. And then it sets up the example for your kids for their lives. How are they going to be for the rest of their lives? Are they going to, follow the bad examples that you set for them, which is, stuff that we don't want to do. We want to set good examples for our kids, right? And we want them to live long and healthy lives, but we also want to be there to see their long and healthy lives. And that starts with what we can, like you said, it all comes back to what we can control. And those are things that, me and you can control. And it's just when you realize the stuff that you can control, your mouth, how you speak to people, how that affects you too. Because how you speak to people will, bring them up or bring them down. But at the end of the day, it will also come back to you how people want to treat you. So at the end of the day, that's what I have to say about that. I don't know what else to say.
Yep, that's, again, moral of the story is you control what you can. You try to be the best person you can possibly be. Try to treat people as well as you possibly can, and take care of yourself as best as you can. And if you manage that, then I think you're doing a good job. Time keeps on slipping into the future. very wise words were once said by a band that I can't remember at a time that I don't know. But I think it's very important that we take heart in those statements, because time does indeed keep on slipping into the future, and there is nothing you can do about it. Hello everyone, my name is Loaded Buggy, otherwise known as Devin, and I'm back with another Call of Duty commentary. This time got some Call of Duty Ghost for you. And I want to talk about another topic. Just been on a roll here lately, thinking about life, thinking about things, and I was thinking about recently to quote Nanners and his favorite word, but way back in the day, the notion of pacing yourself. And I want to briefly, before I go ahead and just start yapping my own thoughts, I wanted to quote a video, actually, that I had seen from Tony Robbins, and I'll actually link the video in the description below. You can check out the full thing if you like. Tony Robbins, if you don't know, he's a motivational speaker and kind of a life coach type guy, and he was talking to someone who was suicidal, and he's trying to gain some information as to why he's thinking this way. And he does some crowd interviews and that kind of thing. So he's talking to this gentleman, and he was trying to get some information, and he tells the guy, he says, "I love that you have such high standards, but those aren't high standards. That's called perfection. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. So don't mess it up. There's time. If you'll give yourself a little more time and be a little more loving to yourself, I think you'll find you've got a lot to give." And that's one of my absolute favorite videos of all time. I don't watch a lot of Tony Robbins content or a lot of his talks and stuff, but I've seen this video countless times, and every single time it gives me chills, shakes me to my core, because it is just absolutely incredible advice. I mean, people are always telling each other, life is short, life is short. And although that's true, you also have a lot of time if you allow yourself to have time. If you can slow down and pace yourself and not rush into things all the time, I think you'll find that you'll have some more success. I'll use an example of mine that it's a very applicable one, and one that some of you may be able to relate to, and that's making YouTube videos. I have tried countless times, over and over and over again, to try to make a YouTube channel and try to find success in some avenue one way or another, and it's almost always been gaming related, but I've never went about it in a way that has found me success. And although I'm very short into this most recent YouTube journey, I found more success in the last week than I have in the entire 4 years prior that I've been trying to make YouTube videos. Actually, it's probably more like 5 videos, or 5 years of trying to make content. And I think it's just been the fact that before I decided to make this comeback, I went on a hiatus. I took some time to think about what I wanted to do, what was actually meaningful to me, and how I wanted to go about it. I thought things through. I gave myself time. I paced myself. And I think that's what's most important and why things are working for me now. And although I'm not blowing up, I'm no Kai Cenat, I'm no Ludwig, but I'm making the type of content that I want to make. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, and I'm not doing it just for the sake of trying to find success. I'm doing it because I'm having fun. And although this is a much smaller scale, and this is not really a big deal, it has no real impact on my life at the moment, but I do think that same train of thought and that same line of thinking is very applicable to big decisions too. Whenever there is time available, I think taking the time and pacing yourself before you make big decisions, before you make a big move, before you do anything that could impact you in a big way or something that could even impact you in a small way. You never know how the dominoes will fall. So hopefully that's of some encouragement to you. Every time I see that video, like I said, it just gives me chills. It is an absolute epic video. Tony Robbins nails it with that advice. There is time. Don't be hard on yourself. You are not perfect. You will not be perfect, and that is okay. Love yourself because you have a lot to give. Hey everyone, Loaded Buggy here, back with another Call of Duty commentary. This time got some Black Ops 1 for you. Going to be using the Commando here on Jungle. And Jungle's the type of map where, it's kind of 50-50 for me. Sometimes whenever I play it, I have a great time, and other times it's just a camp fest and it's absolutely miserable. But this was not one of those instances where it was miserable. This was just a really, really exciting game. There was some camping on the part of the opponents, but I managed to navigate just fine and put up a pretty good score. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this gameplay. I had a lot of fun playing this match. It was a good time. I just kind of wanted to make this video because it's about 11:40 at night, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm not really much of a late night kind of guy. And although 11:40, depending on who you ask, is not particularly late at night, but for me, being more of an early bird type, 11:40 is a little bit on the later side. I don't usually like to stay up this late, but every once in a while, on the weekends, take some extra time, stay up a little bit later, and just allow myself to, recover from the stresses and the chaos of the work week, and just do something that I enjoy. And in this instance, it happens to be making a Black Ops commentary. But I wanted to make this video because someone actually left a comment on one of my other videos, the nostalgia video I made a while back. And the comment I'll put on screen for you as well. But it simply said, "Create more memories." And that comment really stood out to me because I think it's like the perfect advice for someone who is really struggling with nostalgia and getting stuck in the past. Maybe they don't have a scenario or they're not in a scenario in their current day life that is all that enjoyable or all that positive, and they find themselves continuously looking to the past to kind of numb the pain or put a band-aid on the previous or the modern day hurt. And I think creating more memories is a great solution to that. And although it may not be the end-all be-all solution, I think it is a great solution on how to move forward. And I think for me, whenever I think about creating more memories, it's one of those things that in the moment you can look at something little like what we're doing here. We're watching these Call of Duty commentaries or making these Call of Duty commentaries, trying to connect with our past selves or just kind of relive a little bit of what we had back then, and we didn't realize how important those things were to us at that time. It was a pretty small thing. It's literally just a video game. It's not a big deal. But as we're looking back and as we get older, it tends to be a little bit of a bigger deal than we thought it was in the moment. And that's what I think creating more memories is. And I think we often latch on to things of our childhood because it's far simpler times and far easier to connect to due to it being simpler. But I think it's also important to be able to romanticize recent memories as well. And I think that kind of ties into creating more memories. You may not have the perfect situation in your life right now, but I think there's still opportunity to find something positive out of your life. I know whenever I was about 16 years old, and I became pretty severely depressed, and all I ever did was sit in my room, play video games, watch movies, watch YouTube, and just eat and wallow in my own self-pity. And it's kind of a bizarre thing for me now looking back because I just continued to put band-aids on my hurt rather than face it head on. And after I finally got out of that depressive state of mine, I found myself having a great time with very minor things in life. I found a way to enjoy the little things in life, and I continued to make more great memories that were fresh. They were new, they were exciting, and that could be just going to a restaurant with my friends, or going to the movie theater by myself, like just little things like that. Finding appreciation and finding memories, enjoyable things to latch onto that aren't just pure nostalgia that will take you away from what your modern day life is. I think that's a cool thing too. I think recency is a valuable thing, even though you're constantly living in a state of the present, but you're also always living in a state of the past at the same time, because every second that escapes us is in the past. So everything everything that's in the current is also in the past at the same time when you really think about it. Or at least that's how I kind of perceive things. But I think it is really important to make a conscious effort to try to just create more memories, find things to do, find people to see, reconnect with old friends or connect with your current friends, spend time with whoever that loved one is, and just find ways to create more memories rather than just, you know, latching on to the things of the past repeatedly. I think nostalgia is a very powerful thing, and it's a very important thing to be able to utilize. But like I said, I don't think it's a good thing to use as a crutch or as a band-aid if you are having a problem moving on from things. So that was just kind of one of the things that, or one of the trains of thought that I had once I saw that comment, because there's so many like different things that connect to nostalgia, and so many sequels to that video I could make, different topics that are relative to the feeling of nostalgia. But that was one that just had popped out to me because someone had left that comment, and I thought it connected perfectly to that video. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I thought it was another valuable piece of quote-unquote wisdom, if you will, that I could possibly impart upon my viewership, and hopefully it was of some value to you. I just thought it was an interesting comment. So I would just encourage you to, for those of you who are having issues moving on and are constantly stuck in a state of nostalgia, to not allow it to be your crutch, not allow it to be your band-aid, but to go out of your way, as uncomfortable as it could possibly be, to go out of your way to try to make new memories. Try to find something new, something fresh, that is just as positive and just as meaningful as those simpler times were for us back in the day, playing these old games or the old movies we used to watch. And that's not to say that indulging in nostalgia is necessarily a super unhealthy thing. I don't think making it a blanket, it's unhealthy or it is healthy. I don't think making a blanket statement on something like that is okay, because I do think that enjoying things of our past and living in a state of nostalgia is a perfectly healthy thing, and it can be a very positive thing, and it can also be a very healing thing. But it's just as important to find a way to create new memories and live in the present, because the present is where you are now. You can't go back. There is no way to go back. Time travel does not exist yet, and you'll never feel those exact same feelings that you felt back then. But you are living now, you have value now, and there's things you can do to enjoy your life in the present that is a very positive thing too. Hopefully all that yapping actually makes some sense at the end of this commentary. I hope it actually connects in a way that is relatable to you, and I hope it brings some value to you as well. So if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more from me, please consider subscribing, leaving a like on this video, and comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas of things you'd like for me to talk about, then leave those down below as well. Thanks everyone. Bye now.